Meet Ethan Ramirez, a 38-year-old entrepreneur who had spent the last 10 years growing both his company and his family in the bustling city of Seattle. By his side through it all was his wife, Isabella, a 34-year-old powerhouse in the world of marketing. Together, they were raising two young children, a son and a daughter, and from an outsider's perspective, they appeared to be the picture of success and happiness. Their friends often praised their relationship, calling it solid, admirable, even enviable. To many, they were the couple who had it all. But behind the compliments and social smiles, Ethan had started sensing a shift. For the last 6 months, Isabella seemed emotionally distant. She was often distracted, her thoughts somewhere else, and her eyes more drawn to her phone than to him. She'd mention late meetings, work-related events, and the occasional girls' night out, reasons that initially raised no red flags. But the way she'd grin at her phone, the conversation she kept to herself, and the increasing number of unexplained commitments began to unsettle him. Still, Ethan didn't want to assume the worst. His friends reminded him that long-term relationships naturally go through rough patches, especially when juggling careers and parenting. And so, he convinced himself it was just a phase. But those quiet nights, lying beside a sleeping Isabella, left him restless. He stared at the ceiling, trying to calm the unease building in his gut. Something felt wrong, though he couldn't quite put his finger on it. The moment things truly shifted came when Isabella's boss, Luke, invited them both to an exclusive gathering at his lavish penthouse in downtown Seattle. Luke, a 40-year-old tech mogul, was everything you'd expect of a man in his position: confident, impeccably styled, and always sporting a grin that Ethan found a little too self-satisfied. He was wealthy, magnetic, and enjoyed the attention his status brought him. Ethan couldn't deny the similarities between them. They were both successful, family men, and well-respected. But there was something about Luke that put Ethan on edge, particularly the way he interacted with Isabella. At previous events, Ethan had noticed Luke's gaze linger too long, his touch on Isabella's shoulder lasting just a second more than appropriate. Still, Ethan tried to dismiss the thoughts. After all, what kind of man would openly invite a married couple to a social event if he was secretly involved with the wife? Yet, that gnawing voice in his mind wouldn't quiet down. On the night of the party, Ethan and Isabella walked into Luke's sprawling penthouse, where floor-to-ceiling windows showcased a dazzling view of the Seattle skyline. The space buzzed with energy. Guests dressed to the nines clinked glasses of champagne, while a live jazz band played smooth, atmospheric music. Isabella turned heads in a form-fitting black dress, her hair and makeup done to perfection. Her radiant smile made Ethan feel proud to be by her side. But the undercurrent of discomfort still ran beneath his pride. Throughout the evening, Isabella floated effortlessly through the crowd, engaging colleagues and sharing laughs. Luke, ever the charming host, greeted her with enthusiasm. Ethan watched carefully but didn't witness anything overtly inappropriate. Everything appeared normal, until an hour into the evening. Isabella leaned in and told Ethan she was stepping away to talk to a friend in a quieter area of the penthouse. He nodded casually, not wanting to seem paranoid, but something in her tone set off alarm bells in his head. Rather than chase after her, Ethan decided to wait, give her some space, just as he always had. He chatted briefly with a few guests, sipping from a glass and pretending to be at ease. But the longer she was gone, the stronger the tension grew in his chest. 15 minutes passed. That was enough. Ethan politely excused himself from a conversation and made his way through the penthouse's modern, art-lined halls. He moved quietly, following instinct more than direction, until he reached a secluded outdoor garden area at the back of the property. The space was dimly lit, softly glowing from the string lights woven through the trees. There, just beyond the bushes, he heard voices. He immediately recognized one, Luke's, slightly slurred and smug as ever. And the other voice. It belonged to a man. Ethan didn't recognize the second voice, but what stopped him cold was what they were talking about. "I don't know how she pulls it off, man," the unfamiliar voice said, almost in awe. "Bella slips out of her husband's arms and into mine like it's second nature. Last weekend. Unreal. We met up at that hotel by the waterfront. You wouldn't believe what went down." Ethan's breath hitched. Had he just heard that right? He crept closer, careful not to make the slightest noise, his heartbeat thundering in his chest as his worst fears began taking shape. "Does her husband suspect anything?" the stranger asked, lowering his voice. "You're playing with fire, man." "Nah, Luke answered smugly, clearly amused. Ethan's so buried in his work, he's clueless. And Isabella? She's got the whole double life thing down to an art. Smarter than most women I've messed around with. Ethan's hands shook. The truth struck him like a punch to the gut. His wife, the woman he'd trusted with his heart and his home, was sleeping with her boss. But even worse than the betrayal was the way Luke spoke about her. Like she was just another fling, another notch on his belt. Fury welled up inside him, but Ethan wasn't a man who reacted on impulse. Not now. Not here. Instead, he stayed out of sight, listening as long as he could. And what he heard painted a picture more damning than he ever imagined. Their affair had been going on for half a year. Secret hotel rooms, late-night calls, and work trips that were nothing more than weekend getaways for two. By the time Ethan slipped out of the garden and back into the main party, he knew more than enough. That night, he went home with Isabella by his side. She laughed, joked, kissed him goodnight, oblivious to the fact that the man beside her had seen her lies up close. Ethan played along. Calm. Polite. But his thoughts were already shifting gears. He needed more than a confrontation, he needed proof. Over the following days, Ethan became someone else. Precise. Calculating. Focused. He discreetly installed tracking software on Isabella's phone, gained access to her email accounts, and hired a private investigator to dig even deeper. For 2 relentless weeks, he gathered everything he could, messages exchanged between her and Luke, time-stamped photos of them entering hotels together, and even voice recordings of their late-night phone calls. Each piece of evidence was a dagger to Ethan's heart, but they also fueled his determination. He wasn't going to explode in anger. He was going to make sure the truth exploded around them. Exactly 1 month after the penthouse party, Luke hosted another grand affair, this time even more extravagant, with prominent guests from across the city. Ethan knew this would be the stage for his reckoning. He arrived with Isabella, his arm around her waist, his smile perfectly practiced. She was completely unaware of the storm brewing behind his calm expression. Midway through the evening, Ethan leaned close and whispered that he was stepping away to make a toast. Isabella beamed and nodded, completely unsuspecting. As Ethan took the microphone, the room gradually quieted. The music faded, conversations died down, and all eyes turned toward him. He scanned the crowd and found her standing next to Luke. Her smile faltered when their eyes met. "I'd like to raise a glass to my beautiful wife Isabella," Ethan began, his voice steady and cool. "For the past 10 years, we've shared our lives, built a family, and created what I believed were unbreakable memories." You could feel the tension rise as his words hung in the air. "But life," he continued, "has a way of revealing truths you never saw coming. Sometimes, the ones you trust the most carry secrets they hope you'll never discover." Isabella's face drained of color. Her eyes widened. She started to move forward, but Ethan lifted a hand, halting her where she stood. "And tonight," he said, "in front of everyone we know, I'd like to share one of those secrets." Behind him, a massive screen flickered to life. Gasps rippled through the room as the first images appeared, Isabella and Luke, entering hotels under the cover of night. Screenshots of explicit messages followed. Then came audio clips, recordings of their whispered conversations and flirtatious calls. Ethan had brought everything into the light. Isabella stood frozen in place, horror etched across her face. Luke attempted to slip away quietly, but whispers were already spreading like wildfire. People stared. Phones came out. The crowd turned. Ethan looked straight at them, his voice even, but resolute. "In the end, the truth always finds a way out. And now so has this." What followed was swift and merciless. Ethan filed for divorce within days. He secured full custody of their children and ensured the scandal reached Luke's boardroom. The CEO stepped down amid mounting pressure and public shame. Isabella, once admired in her circle, found herself completely isolated. Her marriage, gone. Her reputation, shattered. The trust of her friends and community, lost. As for Ethan, he picked up the pieces and built a new life from the ruins. Stronger, wiser, free. Because for him, revenge wasn't just about exposing betrayal. It was about taking back control and finding peace on the other side of heartbreak. Thanks for following this gripping journey of heartbreak, deception, and justice served cold. If this story struck a chord with you, don't forget to like, share, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. And for more real stories that uncover the truths people hide, be sure to subscribe and tap the bell icon so you never miss a tale from Reddit Stories Unveiled.